All right. Buckle up for a deep dive
Oh, yeah.
into a world that most of us only get glimpses of.
Yeah.
The world of the pimp,
Mm-hmm.
as told by Iceberg Slim himself
Yeah.
in his autobiography, Pimp.
Of course.
This one is coming at your request.
Oh, okay.
You wanted to understand the psychology behind this life.
Wow.
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
Slim holds absolutely nothing back.
It's a wild one.
It is.
It is.
It's a wild
They've
one.
already tasted you there.
So what's fascinating about this book is that it goes way beyond
Right.
a typical
It's not your average
crime story.
crime story.
We're getting a raw,
Unfiltered look.
unfiltered look
At-
at a mindset, a code of conduct,
A whole subculture.
a whole subculture that exists in the shadows.
Yeah, and you really get into his head.
Yeah.
You know,
You really do.
his worldview.
It's a worldview.
And it's fascinating and disturbing at the same time.
It's a tough read, no doubt about it.
Bold-
But it's valuable precisely because of that.
I think so.
Slim lays bare the manipulation,
Violence.
the violence, even the twisted justifications.
All of it.
And one of the things that jumps out at me
Yeah.
is this complex relationship that Slim had with his mother.
Absolutely. That's where the book opens.
Oh, really?
With him at his mother's grave,
Oh, wow.
pouring out his heart, confessing his love,
Wow.
but also acknowledging how deeply her choices impacted him.
It makes you wonder
Yeah.
if his entire life as a pimp was fueled,
At least in part,
at least in part,
by a subconscious anger towards her.
towards her. Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Heavy stuff.
It's heavy.
He talks about being abandoned by his father.
Right.
Raised by a mother who loved him.
But she was also deeply flawed.
Yeah. Deeply flawed. And you get the sense that the thing that seems to have scarred him the most
Yeah.
was witnessing his mother's affair
Oh, yeah.
and the way she treated his stepfather, Henry,
Oh, yeah.
who Slim absolutely adored.
Yeah, that's pivotal. It is.
Imagine being a young boy,
Right.
seeing this man you idolize,
Yeah.
being betrayed
Or
and
her, well, the woman you love.
by the woman you love.
Yeah.
It's no wonder Slim developed this
This deep distrust
deep distrust of women
of women. Yeah.
and this overwhelming need for control.
So how does that early trauma connect
Mm-hmm.
to his descent into the world of pimping?
It starts small.
Okay.
Slim talks about his early hustles,
Mm-hmm.
petty crimes,
Okay.
and how he got a taste for manipulating people
Right.
and situations to get what he wanted.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to regain a sense of control
Right.
that was shattered in his childhood.
That was shattered in his childhood. Yeah.
And then there's prison.
Prison. Right.
He ends up doing time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where he really absorbs the twisted logic
Wow.
and the code of conduct
Of the pimp game.
of the pimp game.
Wow.
He learns from seasoned criminals,
Yeah.
guys who've built their entire lives around exploiting others.
Around exploiting others.
Yeah.
And Slim's first foray into pimping
Okay.
with a young woman he calls the runt
Durant.
is truly chilling.
Oh, wow.
He uses her story
Okay.
to lay out the brutal tactics.
Used to break a woman down.
Used to break a woman down.
Yeah.
To turn her into someone who just makes money
Right.
and doesn't question anything.
Doesn't question anything.
It's a stark example
Yeah.
of the dehumanization
Right.
at the core of this lifestyle.
At the core of this lifestyle, yeah.
And it's not just physical violence.
Right.
He talks about the psychological manipulation,
Yeah.
the constant need to project power,
Yeah.
even when he's probably feeling incredibly insecure on the inside.
Yeah. There's this one quote
Yeah.
that just sends chills down my spine.
Yeah.
He says, "A pimp is happy when his whores giggle.
Whoa.
He knows they're still asleep."
That is chilling.
It's like-
it really is.
It's like he's talking about keeping them mentally
And emotionally subdued.
and emotionally subdued.
So they don't even realize.
So they don't even realize how badly they're being exploited.
Yeah.
It's a powerful
Yeah.
insight into those manipulative tactics.
Absolutely. He talks about
He does.
keeping a steel lid on his emotions,
Huh?
aiming to be one of the iciest pimps out there.
Wow.
That emotional detachment
Really
is what allows him to exploit without empathy,
Yeah.
to see these women as pawns in a game.
Yeah.
He's determined to win.
He's determined to win. Wow.
This game has rules, though.
This game has rules. It's
And
not
it's just free for all. It's a twisted code of conduct that governs how pimps interact with each other.
Exactly.
It talks about
Turning out a woman.
Turning out a woman.
The importance of maintaining a stable of women.
Right.
Managing their jealousies.
Managing their jealousies, yeah.
And rivalries.
It's like this strange brotherhood with its own set of laws and traditions.
And even to illustrate that hierarchy.
And those power dynamics.
He shares this incredible anecdote about his encounter with Sweet Jones.
Sweet Jones, legendary
pimp.
Pimp in Chicago.
Yeah, slim, even with all his bravado.
He's clearly in awe of Sweet Jones.
He wants to learn from him.
He wants to earn his respect.
Yeah.
To learn from him. It's this desire for mentorship.
Yeah.
For acceptance within that pimp hierarchy. That further fuels Slim's ambition.
Wow.
But, as you might expect, this life has serious consequences.
Yeah.
Slim doesn't gloss over his time in prison. The psychological impact of confinement. That constant threat of violence.
He describes one encounter with a fellow inmate who was so deeply religious
oh my gosh
that he killed another prisoner simply for reading the Bible. It's terrifying.
It's a bleak reminder
It is.
of the brutality of prison life.
Wow.
Slim's descriptions are so vivid. You can practically feel the fear and desperation that permeates that environment.
Yeah.
And it's these experiences coupled with his own ruthlessness that push him
further down this path.
Even further down the path he's on.
Wow. And then comes the introduction of drugs.
Oh, boy.
He meets this flamboyant pimp named Glasstop, who gets him into cocaine.
Oh, no.
And it becomes a tool for controlling his women. Keeping them dependent.
Right.
But it's also his escape.
Right.
From a reality that's spinning out of control.
That irony is pretty stark.
It is.
Oh.
Who needs to be in control of everything?
And everyone ends up addicted to a substance that ultimately controls him. It really reflects the destructive nature of the game.
Wow.
How deeply exploitation and addiction are intertwined.
And the violence keeps escalating.
Yeah.
He describes these increasingly brutal acts, justifying them as necessary.
To maintain order.
In his stable,
right?
A downward spiral.
It is.
A descent into darkness.
Yeah.
That feels almost impossible to escape.
Almost impossible.
And it's important to remember the context here.
Oh, yeah.
Slim is operating within a system that's designed to marginalize and oppress.
Absolutely.
He's internalized those racist beliefs that were prevalent at the time.
Yes.
Seeing white men as holding all the power and black women as tools.
Tools for his own advancement. Yeah, it creates this twisted dynamic where he sees himself as superior to both the white men he's conning.
And the black women he's exploiting.
Exactly. He even boasts about having secrets with their husbands. About fulfilling a need that their cold-ass white broads in heaven can't.
It's messed up.
It is.
But it shows how he's manipulating the system that's oppressing him.
While also being trapped by it. Absolutely. It's a warped sense of power fueled by the very system that denies him agency. He's stuck in the cycle of exploitation. Perpetuating the same prejudices that have shaped his own life.
And it's not just about race, right?
No.
There's a deep-seated misogyny woven into his entire worldview.
Absolutely. He talks about pimping hard. Breaking women down until they're nothing more than money-making machines. He even describes beating the runt mercilessly.
Oh, gosh.
Justifying it as necessary to establish dominance.
It's so brutal.
It is. He constantly uses the term bitches to refer to women, stripping them of their individuality and reducing them to objects under his control. He says a pimp has to be God all the way.
Wow.
Emphasizing the power dynamic he wants to create.
And there's this heartbreaking scene where his mother begs him not to leave her.
Oh.
Clinging to him as he walks away.
Oh, wow.
He describes himself as cold and detached.
Completely shutting off his emotions.
And that emotional detachment allows him to commit these horrific acts.
Of violence.
Without a shred of remorse.
Yeah, he beats the runt.
Yeah.
Until her face is unrecognizable. Leaving her terrified and broken.
It's so sad.
He even contemplates murdering another woman, Serena.
Oh, my God.
And she tries to stand up to him.
Wow.
It's horrifying.
It is.
But he sees it as just part of the game.
Part of the game.
He needs to maintain control,
right.
Protect his interests.
Protect his interests.
And in his mind, that means resorting to violence.
And he compares his women to working chumps in the white man's factory.
Right.
Always looking for a way to rebel.
And undermine his authority. It feeds this constant paranoia, this fear of betrayal that makes him even more ruthless. He lives in a world where loyalty is fleeting.
Right.
And power is everything. And then there's the cocaine addiction. It starts small, but quickly consumes him.
Yeah. He talks about the rush.
That sense of invincibility.
But also
the paranoia.
And the growing need.
For more and more. It's a classic addiction narrative.
It is.
The initial euphoria gives way to desperation.
Right.
A constant chase for that next high.
And this addiction just amplifies his need
for control,
making him even more
volatile
and prone to violence.
Exactly.
But even amidst all this darkness, there are these brief flashes
of self-awareness. He visits his mother's grave.
He does.
Confesses his love.
Acknowledges the pain he's caused.
Acknowledges the pain.
He even expresses regret for his actions.
Yeah.
Wondering if he'll ever truly escape.
The mental grip of the pimp game.
Those
moments are so important.
They are.
Because they remind us that even in this dark, twisted world, there's still a flicker of humanity. There's a possibility for change.
Yeah.
Even if it's fleeting. But those flickers are often overshadowed by his deep-seated insecurities and his desperate need
to project an image of power.
He brags about his money, his women, his possessions.
Right.
But you can sense this emptiness beneath the surface.
Like he's trying to convince himself that he's worth something.
Exactly. His relationship with Glasstop is really telling in that regard.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Glasstop is everything Slim wants to be.
Okay.
Charismatic, successful, seemingly untouchable.
Right.
But he's also deeply troubled, consumed by his own demons. He's the one who introduces Slim to hard drugs.
Oh, wow.
Setting him on a path of self-destruction.
There's this one scene where Glasstop is surrounded by beautiful women.
Right.
But dismisses them as square housewives.
Clinging to their youth.
It
reveals that hollowness at the heart of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
How shallow the relationships really are.
And even though Slim sees Glasstop self-destructing, he ends up following the same path. He becomes addicted to cocaine. Yeah. Increasingly paranoid and violent. It's a tragic downfall. It is.
A reminder of how seductive that lifestyle can be.
Right.
And the devastating consequences it can have.
And the cycle of violence just continues.
It does. He describes beating his women, justifying it as necessary to maintain order and obedience. He even talks about beating Chris, a woman he claims to love. Because she dared to question him.
Wow. This is where Slim's internal conflict is most evident.
Absolutely. He wants love and connection, but he's terrified of being vulnerable. He pushes away anyone who tries to get close, using violence and manipulation.
To hold on to whatever semblance of control he has left.
Exactly.
He's constantly running from the law. Moving from city to city. Living in a state of perpetual paranoia and fear.
He talks about a close call he had, narrowly escaping arrest thanks to his connection with Sweet Jones.
That constant pursuit adds to the instability and tension of his life.
He's
never truly safe. Always looking over his shoulder. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. And eventually it does. He ends up back in prison. This time for a longer stretch. And it's there that he encounters someone from his past.
Oh, wow.
Leroy.
The man whose girlfriend Chris he stole years earlier.
Oh, gosh.
Leroy is now a broken man. Consumed by rage and madness.
This encounter is so symbolic.
It is. It represents that cycle of violence and revenge.
Yeah.
Slim, who once stole from Leroy, is now trapped and vulnerable to the very man he wronged.
It shows that our choices
have consequences.
That the past has a way of catching up to us.
Absolutely. Even in prison.
Yeah.
Slim's manipulative nature is on full display.
Yeah.
He uses his intelligence and charisma
to
work the system. Getting favors and privileges from the guards.
Wow.
He even threatens the warden.
Oh my gosh.
Saying he'll expose corruption within the prison if he's not released on time.
It really highlights his cunning and his willingness to exploit any situation.
To his advantage. Even when facing authority, he refuses to be completely subdued.
Wow.
He's a survivor.
A survivor.
Always scheming.
Always
looking for an angle.
And when he's finally released, he's drawn back into the only world he knows.
The world of pimping.
He reconnects with Sweet Jones. Who offers him guidance and support.
He
talks about the challenges.
He's navigating the changing landscape of the game.
With
the rise of drug use and increased pressure from law enforcement.
This is where Slim's story transcends the personal.
Yeah.
And takes on a broader societal significance.
He's not just a lone criminal. But a product of a system. That marginalizes and criminalizes Black men. Trapping them in a cycle of poverty and exploitation.
He's acutely aware.
He is.
Of the risks he's taking. The constant threat of arrest.
The violence that surrounds him.
The
psychological toll it's taking on himself and the women he's involved with.
But he can't seem to break free.
He can't.
He's addicted to the power.
The adrenaline. The illusion of control that this life provides. He's a truly tragic figure.
He is.
Caught in a web of his own making.
And even when he tries to leave the life behind, he stumbles. He hatches a plan to rob other pimps.
Oh, no.
Thinking he can make a quick score.
He can get out.
But it backfires. Landing him right back in prison.
It's that self-destructive behavior that ultimately leads to his downfall. He gets arrested again. This time, facing serious charges.
There's serious charges.
That could send him away for a very long time.
And he's alone.
Abandoned by the women he once controlled. Facing the consequences of a lifetime. Spent chasing an empty dream.
It's a bleak ending.
It is.
It's a bleak story.
A powerful indictment of a world that promises wealth and power.
But delivers.
Nothing but pain and destruction. Yeah.
Heavy stuff, no doubt.
It is heavy.
But you wanted to understand this world.
Yeah.
And Slim doesn't sugarcoat anything.
He does not.
What I find fascinating is how he straddles this line.
Yeah.
Between victim and perpetrator.
Absolutely. He's shaped by these forces. Racism, poverty, but he also makes choices that perpetuate that same cycle of harm.
Like when he talks about Black women having this magic that white women lack. He's playing into the very stereotypes that keep him marginalized.
Right.
But he's also profiting from them.
It's a twisted kind of agency, right?
It is a twisted kind of agency.
He's manipulating the system, but he's still trapped by it.
And you can't ignore those glimmers of self-awareness.
Right.
He loves his mother. He regrets hurting people. But those moments are fleeting.
Because the need for control, that addiction to the game, it always pulls him back in. It's like he can see a different path, but he can't quite reach it.
But damn, he can write.
Oh, he's a wordsmith.
The way he describes things, it's brutal.
It is.
But it's also captivating.
Yeah.
You feel like you're right there with him. Experiencing the highs and lows of that life.
He doesn't hold anything back.
He does not.
And that's what makes Pimp so powerful. It forces us to confront this dark side of humanity.
Yeah.
The things we'd rather not think about.
So having gone through all of this, what's the big takeaway for you? What really sticks with you?
Honestly, it's how relevant Slim's story still feels today. The world of pimping might seem like a distant thing.
Right.
But those same dynamics of exploitation control, they exist everywhere.
We might not see it as blatantly.
True.
But it's there. The way women are objectified, the way people are used for profit, it's all connected.
And Slim's story, as harsh as it is, makes us confront that. It challenges us to look at those systems, those power imbalances, and ask ourselves, what am I doing to perpetuate this? And what can I do to change it?
Heavy stuff to end on.
It is.
But I think that's the point, right?
I think so.
It's not just about reading a book.
Yeah.
It's about sparking that conversation.
That critical thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly, because the more we understand these dark corners of our world, the better equipped we are to shine a light on them.
Shine a light.
To create real change.
And on that note, I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
If Iceberg Slim were alive today, in this world of online everything.
Oh, wow.
Would his story be different?
Interesting.
Would he find a way out, or would he just find new ways to exploit the system?
I don't know.
It's something to think about.
It is.
To consider as we navigate this increasingly complex world.
This increasingly complex world.